This is Emma, and this is my reflective statement for my assessment compendium assignment. Personally, my beliefs in relation to assessment are they're a bit of a necessary evil. That's just my personal belief in purely just because I place a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to assessments and things like that, and as a result, they're not my favourite thing to do. And kids do the same thing in terms of placing a lot of pressure on themselves once they know, oh, I've got a test, or oh, I've got this assignment that I have to do. And, you know, even at really young ages, it still happens. And I think it's really important that the kids know the purpose of an assessment that they're doing, what they're doing, why they're doing it, why is it relevant to me. I really think it's really important that kids know that. So, you know, why are we giving you this grammar test? What's it going to be used for? What's the importance of it? So they know that it's not the be-all and end-all. It doesn't define you as a person. It doesn't define you as a student either. You know, there's so much that makes up who we are that, you know, assessment is not one of those things. In terms of influences and things like that, you know, in an ideal world, a positivist ideal world, we'd all be able to be positivist teachers, and all schools would be, you know, more positivist than constructivist. Unfortunately, constructivist is sort of a necessary evil as well, because, you know, at the end of the day, we do kind of have to prepare kids to be able to survive in the real world, you know, the world outside of school and, you know, outside of their families and the protection of things like that. And whilst in primary school that's not, you know, it's I guess it is important, but it's not as important, I guess, as sort of your later secondary years. But it, you know, the world these days is changing so rapidly and so, you know, just quickly that with technology and things like that, you know, before we know it, we'll have to be almost completely retrained again, because there'll be some new fandangled way to teach that, you know, prepares kids better. So I think, you know, constructivist, while it's not the ideal way, it is necessary. We need to prepare our kids. In terms of teaching and learning and assessment and how they impact on each other, you know, it's becoming clearer to me that teaching impacts on learning, and learning impacts on teaching. Assessment. So teaching impacts on learning, learning impacts on assessment, and then, of course, assessment impacts back on teaching. So the three of them, you know, they're all inextricably linked. They all affect each other. They're all dependent on one another, and they're all cyclical. And that's become really, really, like, just black and white clear to me upon doing this assignment. Yeah, so that's, I guess, my stance on that. In terms of my professional learning for this assessment and how I approached it, when I was first looking at this assessment back in, I think it was November, early December, I definitely had a freak out about it. It looked very daunting, but once it was broken down and I realised that it was quite easy to break down into those 4 different sections, it was much less daunting. Finding the items for my school case study, the assessment items, was quite interesting. So the main thing that I found, or the 2 main things that I found quite interesting at my school that I'm at for placement, was that my principal wasn't entirely comfortable with me discussing assessment culture at the school with parents and students, and having it published even just on a Weebly for an assessment, she wasn't entirely comfortable with that, which I found surprising, I guess for a number of reasons. So, it almost kind of feels like she's got something to hide. But having said that, it's a fantastic school and I love it. And if they gave me a job there tomorrow, I would take it. The other thing I found really interesting was that it's not compulsory for Victorian primary schools to have an assessment policy for each school. So the fact that my school has an assessment policy on its own, the fact it's even in existence, was excellent, and I was super excited to find out that my school had this assessment policy. But the fact that it actually goes into the types of assessment that they carry out at the school, and why they do those types of assessment, and the guidelines that govern the types of assessment that they do undertake, and how those assessments are then used within the school, was really interesting and really fascinating, and it's probably my favourite piece of data that I did collect, apart from the test that I got to deliver to the kids myself and the results that I did from that, because it kind of made me feel like a real teacher. In terms of my professional stance and how that influences my teaching, in all honesty, my professional stance is still developing, and it will continue to develop for as long as I teach. I guess at the moment, every teacher wants their kids to have fun in their class, but I think it's about mutual respect and mutual learning as well. Even I'll be 28 by the time I get into a class, and I think it's important that kids know that you learn from day dot until, the day we leave the earth. And I think it's really important kids know that, and I think it's really important that kids know that it's not necessary to know everything. Nobody knows everything, and that doesn't mean that it's not okay. Grown-ups don't know everything, and teachers sure as heck don't know everything either. And I've had a few moments like that with my class already, and they'll ask me a question and I just go, look, I don't know, but I'll find out, and maybe we can find out together. And I think that's refreshing for them as well, to know that, oh, hey, maybe I can teach Miss Wilkinson something. And I think that that's really great for them as well. The whole mutual respect thing, I'm cool for having fun in the classroom, but the work's still got to get done, and as long as the work gets done, no problems. Theoretical stances and how they've shaped my understanding. I'm beginning to understand theoretical stances a lot more through doing this assignment, through being in the classroom a whole lot more this year. Dewey, as much as we all cursed him in third year and couldn't understand for the life of us what he was babbling on about, it's starting to make sense now, and it's starting to sink in, and I'm starting to understand it in English and not Dewey language, which is a bit of a relief, because I was starting to feel like I didn't know a language that he was speaking in. It's also, through things like delivering tests to my class and correcting them and making notes on pre-test results and things that my kids need to work on. And, it's refreshing to know that there's things I can help them with and that I can have an impact on them, even as a student teacher. It's just really nice to kind of know that and go, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. And through researching tests like NAPLAN and the PISA test, and through researching QCAR and VCAR, all those theoretical things are kind of coming back into my head now, and I'm kind of knowing what's going on a bit more. So definitely not there yet. Will I ever get there? I hope so. But, as I said, it's cyclical, it's all learning, and everyone learns for as long as they're here. So I will continue to learn, and my professional stance will no doubt continue to develop and influence my teaching as I do learn. So yeah, thank you for watching this and for viewing my Weebly. My name is Emma Wilkinson, and this is my reflective statement.